And Craig, we're starting with you this morning because really a lot of talk is on the tropics right now. You're tracking not one, but two storms right now. Any chance that we're impacted here in Hampton Roads?
So there will be some indirect impacts, okay? The systems are staying offshore. We're going to see that. We have Humberto and we have Imelda, and we'll zoom in and take a closer look. Look at how quiet the Gulf is right now, as well as the Caribbean. Really not much going in either of those parts of the tropical Atlantic basin. As we take a look across the areas down around the Bahamas, that's where you pick up Imelda, and then you have Humberto, which is south of Bermuda. Let's take a closer look at the 8 a.m. advisory here on Imelda. And right now the movement is north at 9 miles per hour. Now it's a rainmaker down across the Bahamas. We're seeing a few showers every so often get thrown back towards the Florida coast. But I mean the heart of this storm. It is going to stay well to the south and to the southeast. In fact, if you take a look here, here's from Hatteras, okay? At 2 a.m. there on Wednesday, you can see it's going to be like 360 miles, 370 miles there. And then as it continues to move along, I mean, that track is so far offshore. It is way out there. So you think about like winds and things like that, all of the actual direct impacts, the violent winds, the worst of the waves, that's going to be out there. But it is going to generate some swells. So we're looking at that. And the other thing I'll note, let me clear that off there real quick. What you're going to find across the area in Bermuda, take a look at this little dot. I'll put my arrow on this so you can see. That's Bermuda right there, very close to that Category 1 hurricane Thursday morning at 2 a.m. They're going to get hit with this hurricane as it moves along. Right now, Imelda, just a tropical storm, but the winds have gotten a little bit stronger this morning. That trend is going to continue. Take a look at the spaghetti plot. You guys know what this is. This is a bunch of different models that all run on this system. And in this particular spaghetti plot, we are looking at everything from the Euro to the Canadian model to the Navy's models. We look at all these different models, throw it up there, a model called the HWARF. We look at all these specialized models on these tropicals. All of them keep this thing far offshore and away. So that's good news for us. How about the wind field? You take a look there. That's tropical storm force winds in the yellow. You can see strong tropical storm force winds in orange and then hurricane force winds in red. And the real knot of hurricane force sustained winds there would be more, you can see very close to the center and far away. Now you do get some stronger winds out with some of the swells, or some of the bands rather, but bottom line is the strong winds with this thing are going to stay far away. Now Humberto. Currently, winds of 145 miles per hour, gusting to 160. Movement is northwest at 14 miles per hour. This is a Cat 4 hurricane, a major hurricane. It's going to weaken. I think the wind field will actually expand a bit as this gains latitude and moves farther north. It's going to stay well to the east, or to the west rather, of Bermuda. So you take a look here, and again, for the little tiny island of Bermuda, they're already sweating out the Imelda coming by as a Hurricane Cat 1. So as that one comes by, then just on the heels of that, you've got Humberto swinging by out there to the west of it. It's just crazy. So a lot of wave action out there. What about Hampton Roads? What does this really mean for us? And let me quickly show you the spaghetti plot. This is actually a different type of spaghetti plot I'm showing. This is what we call the ensembles, where you take a look at a model here and then you do a bunch of little tiny variations in those points that you can control. Say, well, what if the winds are just a little bit stronger here? Or if the central pressure was a little bit deeper there? You can run variations on these models, and that's what it gives you. Again, everything keeping Humberto well offshore. So now the wave forecast, and you've got two systems. You see those moving along, Humberto, and you have Imelda, and this is a easier to read map. I think you guys will really see what we're talking about here with our forecast wave height. Eugene, you look at this down at the southern Outer Banks. As we get into early Tuesday, we're talking 8 to 9 foot waves on top of tides that'll start to build. When you get this type of wave action building, keep in mind those areas you see shaded in purple and white out here well to the west, those are the monster waves. Those are the ones that are 25, 30, 35 feet, huge seas, way offshore. near the coast coming late Tuesday into early Wednesday. We're talking 10 to 12 footers here down around Hatteras, and then it will start to pull away. So as it moves out, things will eventually improve late Wednesday into Thursday. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the wave potential. You get those waves on top of the tides, and then you have to worry about overwash and some of the other coastal erosions. That's why we've declared the weather impact alert. Right now, the buoys there closest to us only running 4 to 5 feet, and those are offshore, so it's not too bad. I will mention we do have a weather impact alert for the Outer Banks, especially the southern Outer Banks, specifically for the wave issues associated with Imelda and Humberto. So overwash is possible. Coastal erosion or beach erosion, we expect a little bit of that. And those large swells, dangerous rip currents, a certainty. You definitely want to stay weather aware. What questions do you guys have, or do you have any, Eugene?
Yeah, I actually do. I mean, we were thinking about, in context of the hurricane that came through, not that one was a few weeks ago or so at this point, and we saw the impact that that had, like on NC-12 and portions of the Outer Banks there in North Carolina. Are we thinking that it could potentially be the same? I mean, you were just showing, how high the waves can get down there. So people who are there, is that what they need to be preparing for?
So that system you talked about, that was Aaron. That was a little closer. And again, it shouldn't be as bad as what we saw with Aaron down there, but we can't drop our guard. It could be in some areas, especially the southernmost parts of the Outer Banks. I think this is part of the reason why everybody's guard is up, because of what we saw from Aaron before. So I think we have to watch this one very, very closely, especially Humberto. If that wind field expands a little bit, again, generates some more wave action coming back towards the coast. You get the tide levels, and I wanted to show you that if I can pull that up as well. We had tides that were producing some moderate flooding with that last system. And what I think we're going to find in this case, again, maybe some minor tidal flooding, then you get the wave height on top of that. And the tides running high, not a direct result of Imelda or Humberto. We just have a frontal boundary that's through the area and a strong northeast wind. That's going to push us up into the minor to maybe moderate tidal flooding levels right around the Lynnhaven Inlet. But along the Outer Banks, minor tidal flooding, then you add these waves on top of it. You have to be ready for beach erosion and coastal flooding. So I know that's kind of a long answer. Hopefully it won't be as bad as what we saw with Aaron, but it's very possible it could be. And there are flood warnings up for the southern Outer Banks for coastal flooding.
No, long answer means thorough answer. And if you're in North Carolina, it's probably something that you're innerly thinking at this point.
Absolutely.
So it's good to ask that question. We know that North Carolina Governor Josh Stein over the weekend declared a state of emergency for the state of North Carolina. Again, as you said, they want to be overly prepared. We just hit a year since Hurricane Helene hit last year. This weekend was the anniversary of that storm, and they're still recovering from that. Just got big news from the federal government. They're going to have more than $1 billion to help to rebuild roads and infrastructure there. Again, that was a year ago. So I don't think if you're in North Carolina, you are going to take it lightly regardless.
No, it's one of those things where the emergency managers absolutely have to be on top of it. You think about Helene, you talk about the recovery. On the weather desk, which airs at 9 o'clock here on 13 News Now Plus, we've been running stories on Helene recovery. The stories are ongoing. I mean, there were entire parts of the region that were completely inaccessible. So it's not just an inconvenience like what we find in many of our urban areas where you get some roads that are impassable. Well, there's another through route, or you can kind of, circumnavigate or whatever. There's some areas that are one in, one out, and those get flooded out or knocked out. They're completely inaccessible for long periods, if you lose a bridge or whatever. So unfortunately, North Carolina has been battle tested on these tropical systems, and they are not going to drop their guards at all.
Which is good, again, it's not about scaring people, but you want to make sure that people are prepared. Prepared, not scared, right? Particularly in a storm like this where you so clearly laid it out. This is far off the coast at this point, the way that it's turning. But again, the impact could still be felt.
Absolutely. And again, those winds, the worst of it will stay hundreds of miles offshore. We are going to get some stronger northeast winds coming in, but that's more of a product of high pressure out to the west and this frontal boundary offshore. So if you guys can, if you want to take this real quick, Sarah, I've got the tides up so you can just see what we expect for Sewell's Point. This is a measuring stick for Hampton Roads. And again, with the northeast winds building tomorrow and into Wednesday, we're talking gusts 30 to 35 miles per hour potentially. That's going to push the water levels up in the lower part of the bay. Sewell's Point is the official measuring stick for Hampton Roads. So for Norfolk, Hampton, Newport News, these areas kind of gauge their flood threats on this. Minor tidal flooding expected Wednesday with the afternoon high tide around 5 o'clock. Well, that's let's go back to Lynn Haven here. Now, the Lynn Haven Inlet can be really susceptible. You know, when we had that coastal low. It wasn't even a named system. There's coastal low. We had some pretty bad flooding at the Lynn Haven Inlet. I have friends that have properties there not far from Chick's Oyster Bar and Chick's Beach right there on the inlet side. They were saying it's some of the worst flooding that they've dealt with. So you get the right, or I should say maybe wrong wind direction coming in. It can push a lot of water in. Moderate tidal flooding at Lynn Haven, again with the Wednesday afternoon high tide. So we'll watch for that. At Yorktown, minor at 4.7, and also Duck Pier down at the Outer Banks. Minor tidal flooding, but you throw that wave action on top of it later on Wednesday, you could have some issues.
And for those who may be wondering, when we're talking about what is, North Carolina going under a state of emergency, what that means, as a reminder, that's so that they can have all of their resources ready to go. We're talking about their swiftwater rescue teams in the case that they need it, their search and rescue task forces, law enforcement, National Guard. It's just an easier way for them to get all of that together in the case that they need to use it. And Craig, I'll tell you this, I know if you're on a cruise right now, this is definitely something you be mindful of. And we do have a cruise, the Carnival Sunshine, that was leaving from Norfolk. People in our area boarding that ship, they're not going where they would like to right now. They were supposed to go to the Bahamas. And where are they going, Sarah?
They're going up north.
Canada.
I just wanted Sarah to say it. They're going to Canada, which, we don't want to make light of it. Carnival is doing what they need to do to make sure all of their passengers are safe. But if you think you're going to the Bahamas and you go to Canada, that's quite a difference.
So these ships, again, they're floating parties. They're floating cities, really. There's so much entertainment on board. I'm sure the folks aboard that ship are going to have a great time. But what I wanted to share with you, these ships, they can easily steer around the threats. What they don't want to do is get caught either in port during a hurricane, that's bad, or, if there was a tropical threat that was on top of them, the waves could be, pretty bad, obviously, out towards those. So they wisely steer around and said, we're not going to mess with going down around the Bahamas. They're right now, the Bahamas under tropical storm warning. Imelda is down there now. Why even mess with it? Stay away from it. Go north. It's going to turn back out to sea. They'll be fine. They'll have a good time. Just a little bit
of the day, you're on a ship, you're on a cruise. You go for the party and the food and the vibes anyway. But
I've been on a cruise to Canada before.
Oh, you have?
Like, that was planned to Canada.
Okay, and you had a good time.
It was very nice. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it has the stamp of approval from Sarah Calloway, and
I kept waiting for the hook. And she's like, no, it was nice. I'm sure it was.
I went with my grandparents, and we went to Boston and Portland, Maine, and then Canada as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I know people, they always think cruises, they think like somewhere tropical.
No.
And you know who had to have her cruise rerouted because of Hurricane Erin? Our own Ashley Smith. Remember, she was on a cruise that week when the hurricane came through, and I can't remember how they rerouted, but they didn't go to Canada. Well, but they did get rerouted that week.
If you cruise like Ashley Smith about every other week, you're going to run into something occasionally. If you guys want to, we can go back. I just wanted to also quickly discuss the flood potential down across North Carolina and South Carolina today. As we go along, we are seeing some moisture kind of overriding that front in the southeast U.S. We've got to watch for this. So, again, this is North Carolina, South Carolina, and then down along the Georgia coast, Savannah, back down towards Jacksonville, and all the way down through Fort Pierce, Daytona Beach, and you can see at at Cape Canaveral there, the Space Coast, they also have the potential for some heavier rains down that way. It's just a level 1 increased flood threat, but it is there. We're going to, of course, keep an eye to both of these systems, and you guys know what? Coming up at 11 o'clock, we're going to get the updated full forecast on those, and either I can come back or maybe Evan Stewart can come back and fill you guys in on the latest information that comes in at 11.